Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit Azabi here, back again with Kuroko no Basket Season 2. We are on episode 14, and in the last episode we began the true, we're really in deep in the Winter Cup now. So now it's nothing but knockout games from now on, and we have started the game against Toho. They come out swinging just like we did. The only thing is that Toho did not underestimate Sirine in the slightest, and they've ended up getting the first couple of points with Aomine with an alley-oop, and yeah, but we did end the last episode with something that we were not expecting, which Kuroko is using his Ignite Pass, but it's a bit different. It's apparently Ignite Pass Kai, whatever that means, but the episode ended before we could see what it was, and I still have no idea, I have no theories about what it could be, because the only thing that's different about it is that the Ignite Pass generally is a pass that is already, when the ball is already on a trajectory, and Kuroko steps in to increase its momentum, right, in one direction. But the difference with this one is that Kuroko had the ball and it's coming from a stop position, so that's the only difference. But I don't see how that changes much. If anything, that means it's going to be slower, right? Because at least if the ball's already going, you just increase its speed with full force. But if it's stopped and you hit it, it's not going to be as fast. So I don't know I don't know what's going to be so different about it. But other than that, we got the summoning of the Generation of Miracles, where we found out that Akashi is insane. There's that. And yeah, I mean, everyone's looking on, everyone's looking over. You have all the Generation of Miracles there. Kagetora he came into the gymnasium, and called out. Well, he didn't call out, but he knows the coaches for Toho and also Shotoku, who he's sitting next to, and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, Sirine look really up for it. Toho can see that they look up for it. It's not the same as before. They look calm and collected. So, I'm sure they'll come out swinging and give them a right hook back. So yeah, we'll just have to see if that is the case. But yeah, nothing else to really talk about. So we are going to get into episode 14. We need to see what this fucking Ignite Pass Kai is all about, and see what we get. So if you want to go watch the reaction, link is in the description. There's also a link to the full length. If you don't want to watch any of the my reactions in full, including this episode, then you can do. The offer is there for you. But nothing else to really talk about, so we're going to get in episode 14 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 14, and Kuroko has been shut out for now. I mean, if any shonen is to go by, then you know for a fact that he'll be back with something to offset everything else. But I mean, maybe this is the thing, I'm not sure that this show would bring out something that for example, I can't see Kuroko just get dragging something out of his arse to fuck it, that just came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? The Kai thing isn't I wouldn't say that it's out of nowhere, because it's still just the Ignite Pass. It's just sort of modified differently, right? He just adds spin to the ball, which is they explained it as essentially how a bullet travels is to increase the velocity of the thing. But I mean, if you try to do that in real life, there's no way you would be able to put well, obviously it's anime, and the animations, obviously, the visual of it is, it's at a point where it's not obviously supposed to look realistic in that regard. You know what I mean? It's visuals to add the effect that it is as powerful as it looks. But for example, I couldn't see that Ignite Pass, I don't see that ever being a thing in real life basketball, you know what I mean? But it was cool nonetheless. I mean, it caught Aomine off guard the first time. The second time it didn't. Now, it could be a thing because, if we're going by logic, then I would say that it has to do with the fact that the second time round where Aomine stopped it, he was directly in front of the ball. So there was nothing for the ball to sort of, knock out of the way, so to speak. The first time round, Aomine was trying to stop it out here, but because the velocity of the ball, it knocked his hand away and kept travelling. But when you have your body behind the ball, you're essentially you're just essentially a roadblock for it. It's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? It's not going to push it. There's no way a basketball is getting, like thrown at you with such a velocity to knock you over. So it was obviously always going to stop. It's just that like Aomine is just like that good, even in sort of observation. Like even his like the way that he thinks about things is also formless. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we talked about obviously in his basketball that like he's a formless street ball kind of player, that like you can't predict what he's going to do next because everything is completely unconventional. But like that's for his basketball. But like even the way that he thinks about things is completely sort of unconventional. Like nothing phases him at all, and that kind of extends to the rest of the team. Like they have full belief in themselves, and of course that it comes across arrogant. But then it's like when you have something, when you have that confidence and arrogance, it's a good sort of, it's a good trait to have, because it just increases like your sort of mentality, like you're mentally tough. And a lot of the time, I've said before in the sports anime reactions that mentality is such a big thing, even though you like on the outset you wouldn't normally think that mentality in a sports game is what matters. It's the physical nature of something, like how technically gifted you are, but it's your mental state that allows you to pull off certain things. Like it's for example, for the people that have watched Haikyuu, Bokuto is a great example of that. Bokuto isn't mentally strong, so he fluctuates a lot, and when he's mentally down, he's unable to perform. When he's on top of the world, he's able to pull off shots that he would not do if he would not even attempt if he wasn't feeling good about it. You know what I mean? So mentality plays a huge part, and I just think that when it comes to Toho, they're just a mentality giant that allows them to perform at ridiculous, sort of at such a ridiculous degree that nothing ever phases them. So that like even if they would like Serene was keeping up with them. All right, the game, the first quarter ended with them as a tie, and never once did it feel like Toho were just like they were still just like smiling about it, being like, oh, this is a like what I mean, like almost as if they were enjoying it. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, nice, a challenge. So I've got to give Toho props for it, really, because even though they've got especially in season 1, like they've got this aura about them that because they're more individuals together that all just sort of they come together to play in the team, but realistically like they all like to do things by themselves and everything like that. Like I guess you get this sort of aura about them that they're just arrogant pricks, and to some degree yes, but when it comes to playing, you can't deny the fact that helps them in that regard. You know what I mean? That's their style of play. Like even Sakurai in this episode, like the one character that you could, like the one player that you could take out of Toho and be like, he's an interesting one because he's so different to the rest of the team in the way that he acts. Like he acts like this, this really like apologetic, right, mushroom as they call him, but like he seems like so much more sort of nicer, like someone you can actually get along with. However, when it comes to basketball, like we saw here, he was like, like I'm not losing. Give it to me. You know what I mean? I'm going to do my individual play like they're known for. But that's the thing, is like what I was talking about in the pre-discussion for last episode. This whole thing that Kagetora taught Serene, this idea that even though Toho are individual players, they're still a better team, because they all have these individual skills that they can pull out and carry the team to victory in their own way, and that's how they do it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know what I mean? The idea of like team play is so easily like construed as like, oh, like almost like everyone has to get a touch of the ball before it goes in the hoop. Why does that have to be the case? That isn't the point. Like it's just in certain circumstances, you can't rely on just the same way of playing for every team. Every team has a weak, like every team has their own, individual weaknesses or their ways of playing that you have to sort of change your game in order to attack them. You know what I mean? And not the same style of play isn't going to work for every team. So, I think that's what's interesting about Toho. Really, is that I feel like, in terms of a team that it can easily be classified as like a villain team because of that sort of style of play. I feel like it's realistic, and it makes sense. So there is that, but yeah, I mean, as of right now, Toho are running away with it, and now it's time for Kagami to outshine Aomine, which I am very excited for, because I feel as though it's definitely coming. Like, there's going to be a moment where Kagami is like, he finds himself in the situation. What they were talking about in the early part of this episode were, when you had that moment where Kagami actually had the ball and he was visualizing like this mental game that that Midorima obviously said that it was that they were visualizing it both in their head of how it was playing out, and it turns out Kagami, he wasn't going to win that battle, so he tossed it off. But that was for that situation. It's a very situational way of playing where, like, depending on where players are on the court, where he is at that moment in time, how far he is away from the hoop, a lot of different factors come into it, where if there is a situation where Kagami feels like he can win and he can do it, that will happen. That will definitely happen this match. I feel it coming. And also, it is kind of like a meta approach I feel like I've just taken up here, where, so obviously we've gotten a new opening and ending in this the second half of season 2, and this is why, like, normally I don't really like to watch openings and endings, because and this is the reason why I don't watch trailers either. People ask me all the time, like, are you going to react to this trailer or that trailer? And I don't like to do it, because even though if it doesn't look like, there's no spoilers in terms of the story, anything like that, I don't like to get even hints of anything, because it enforces an idea in my head of something, like maybe a theory that I already have. And if there's just one little thing, it could be something as simple as, like, a character standing there, a character coming into the screen just after another character, where it's like, okay, I put those two together and it sort of fits well in my, like, sort of jigsaw of theory that I've got going on. So, for example, you've got Kagami and Aomine, and then you've got Kagami's master and Momoi. Now, in the ending, there is a specific moment where you've got Momoi turns up and Kagami's master turns up. I'm assuming that's Kagami's master, because we saw her in the last episode. We just saw the hair. I thought it might have been just a dude with longer hair, but I think it's this woman. And both Momoi and her in the ending they both have, like, the same, anime does this thing with, like, opens and endings where, like, if you have, like, two people, like, two sides of the same kind of coin, that like, it's like there's clearly, like, something there. So in a way, what I'm thinking is, it's like you've got Aomine and Momoi, and you've got Kagami and his master. Whatever Kagami has learned over in America is clear he's been learning from his master over that past month, and it's put Kagami in a state of mind where he doesn't recklessly run into, he thinks about things before he makes a move, which is huge. And I just feel like this master has given him some sort of sense of, like, has pushed him beyond what he was capable of before. And that might sound obvious, but I just feel like there's definitely just that teetering in, you know what I mean? And Aomine a few episodes back, and I think in the Onsen actually, the Onsen episode, he told Kagami, it's like, yeah, like you're breaking through the door, but you're not there yet. You know what I mean? You're nowhere near. And I just feel like I can just feel Kagami going to step up, you know? And it's just, you know, but he has to, because even though you've got all these other, you know, you've got all these other team members that are able to pull stuff out, Hyuga's like done a hell of a job in this episode, you know? So I don't expect Hyuga to carry the team for the rest of the match. He may do at some point, but I feel like, you know, his sort of moment to pull Seirin through, he's had his time. Izuki can only do so much because he is the point guard, so, you know, he's not one to sort of carry the team. The one person that we can look at, I guess two, because, you know, Kiyoshi can have times in this match where he's definitely going to pull shit out of the bag. I mean, he already did, obviously, with when he, you know, because of the size of his hands, pulling it off. I love it anytime he does that, you know what I mean? Because it looks so smooth. Like, every time he does it, it's so cool. It's so cool. But I feel like this is a perfect match for Kagami to really step up his game and fucking, like, carry this team through before Kuroko comes back on, and then all of a sudden you've got Kagami, who is going one-on-one with Aomine, a massive light, which obviously darkens Kuroko as the shadow. I mean, speaking of that, I thought that Aomine's when Aomine like said that, you know, the shadow can't beat the light, it's a really cool way of putting it, because it is true. It's like the only reason why there is a shadow is because there is a light. Like, you know, there can't be a shadow without the light. That doesn't work the other way around. You know what I mean? Because a shadow doesn't exist without the light. But, you know, it doesn't work the other way around. So it just really, really cool way of putting it. And you know, they've even figured out the vanishing drive is that it's in use with Kagami in the back. By Kuroko moving his eyes back to there just to make you think for that split second moment in time, like what is Kuroko thinking? Even like subconsciously, the person who is up against Kuroko is like looking at, you know, certain things, and the slightest bit of movement can really throw them off, and that's basically what is being done with Kagami being the light that he is. He's got such a presence, they automatically look at him, and the moment you've looked at him, Kuroko's already on his way past you. So, you know, there is that. The only one time I would actually say that is bullshit is Tako. Now, I mentioned it during the reaction. Now, there was I think it happened twice. I think Kuroko pulled out the vanishing drive on Tako twice in that Shotoku match. The one I'm talking about is the one that was insane, where Kuroko came, like, he was in the air, he jumped up for the ball, he came down, and then in a split second moment, I think he only had one foot down, and he used the vanishing drive past Tako. Now, Kagami was definitely not behind him in that moment. I know for a fact he wasn't. So that's the only one that I can really call bullshit on it. So unless there's like this whole thing of like that it's more than just Kagami and there's more like sort of factors involved as well, unless that is the case, then yeah, that one is a bit iffy. But, you know, you can let me know in the comments. But I just thought it was interesting, like, you know, like they've clearly set up this idea that the vanishing drive actually involves Kagami in the background because of his presence to throw off the opponent, so that Kuroko can use that to misdirect and then go past. But there was no one behind him. Like, there was no one behind him when he went up against Tako that one time. Because I'm sure he was, like, out left of the hoop. Or out right. One of the two. And naturally, you wouldn't have someone behind you there, I don't think, as a teammate, you know? Unless, well, yeah, because Hyuga maybe, but I'm pretty sure there was no one behind him. That's just from me trying to remember, but I'm pretty sure that was the case. And yeah, I mean, other than that, Aomine, you can't predict whatever he's going to do. You know what I mean? Like, he has so much fucking, like, just confidence in himself to, like, no, like, let him use the vanishing drive against me, because you know, I don't care if we've figured it out, so all we need to do is just space them out. No, let Kuroko come at me with the Vanishing Drive in the most perfect situation for his Vanishing Drive to work, because I'll still stop it. And he did. In the most, like... I mean, in hindsight, it's so obvious. Like, the reason why my misdirection works in any way is your eyesight. Fine, I'll just close my eyes then. Like, and then it doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? Like, he's using. I mean, you know, apparently it was said in the subtitles that he was, you know, it was down to Kuroko's breathing and everything like that. That's how he could tell when he went past him. I don't think that's the case. I mean, I think that's a bit far fetched. I don't think it was the breathing. Because in a situation like that, there's a lot of noise going around. The crowd's up a height. You're not going to be able to hear that breathing. However, a gush of wind, someone running past you, you know, and someone's got that sense for like where the ball's going to end up. Sometimes, a lot of the time, in specifically, obviously, fast-paced sports, a lot of things come down to instinct. You know what I mean? So it's clear that I think when Aomine closed his eyes, he had a feel for... I think he didn't have his eyes shut the whole time. I think just before it happened, he had his eyes open. He noticed when Kagami was coming around, like either in his peripheral or whatever. Then he shut his eyes, so that he knows that in a certain moment's notice, like he has a window of time where Kuroko's most likely going to run past him. So I think he took that into account. He felt the whoosh of Kuroko running past him. He backed up, smacked the ball out of Kuroko's hands, and that was that. End of. It just, you know, it further cements Aomine as just this like fucking unstoppable like force of nature, really. You know, I love. You see that. I love how they purposefully put a certain animation on Aomine that is so smooth, because it works so well in tandem with the way that he plays. Like that little moment where the ball is practically like rolling, and he slightly like bounces the ball so low to the ground. Like shit like that is just like really cool. Really cool to watch. And then, you know, he pulls out another formless shot where he literally just you know what I mean, scoops it into the air so high, and it comes back down straight in there. You know what I mean? Like shit like that. Like, oh man. I mean, that's the thing, is like I still can't see Toho getting a win, but it's just going to be interesting. I'm just excited just to see what happens. But anyway, yes, that is all I've got. So thank you everyone for watching. In the description below, I've linked to certain things. One of them is the Discord, so you can get yourself over there if you wish. And if you want to get access to episode 15 and 16 right now, you can do by going over to my Patreon and becoming an early access tier patron. So it's $5 a month. That gives you access to shows a week early. And yeah, so episode 15 and 16 will be up there now. There's also the full length tier if you want to watch any of my reactions in full and not just the 10-minute cut version. And then there's the exclusive tier where you can watch my reactions to movies and things like that. So yeah, get yourself over there, see what they offer. But that's all I've got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.